This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another week for the DaaS Sales Workshop, guys. Let me just double check. I think I got everybody in. Yeah, I don't see anybody left in the waiting room. We'll just leave that open and we will get right into it. Okay, guys. So again, this is our weekly DaaS Sales Workshop, always geared around, the sales of the data, whether that's where to start, doing outreach, messaging, marketing. Yes, I have a lot of expertise in sales and closing deals, overcoming objections, sales scripts, etc. But also when it comes to the marketing, the messaging, the email copy, the ad copy, and going over that stuff. So that's all the kind of stuff that we're going to discuss here on these sessions. Again, some repeat faces here that we see on quite often. Georgetta, Matt, to name a couple. I see a couple new people that I just met in the last week or two here. Nathan being one of them, and maybe even a couple faces I haven't had one-on-one calls with or haven't met, on outside of today's session. So what I always like to start with, guys, and again, people like yourself, Nathan or Matt, Nathan this week because of the one-on-one call and the resources I sent. Georgetta and Matt, you guys again attend every week, so this will be a little redundant, but I always start off the same way, guys. Really quickly, I'm going to bring up a document on my screen, and then I'm going to go drop this link right here in the Zoom chat for all of you guys to have if you have not already, seen this or saved this or what have you. Basically, guys, this is just a document that I've put together for the best way to build out your DaaS sales process. So whether you have an agency prior to adding on Audience Lab and DaaS services, or whether it's just a DaaS agency and DaaS is your primary deliverable and you don't really do anything else, right? This is kind of how to build that out. So again, number one on the screen is just a document showing you the exact sales process and breaking down the steps, game plan, timeline, expectations, et cetera, et cetera. Number two on this document is just a tutorial going over document number one and me elaborating on anything, I didn't put a little caption or definition. Number three, I always like to share and show you guys some of the current ads and email messaging and copy and LinkedIn outreach and the messaging that we're using. Number 4 and 5 on my screen are the scripts that I put together to build our Audience Lab sales team, number one, but also that I built for all of our DaaS clients to kind of build their sales process and their calls off. So again, number 4 would be your triage call, your 15 to 20-minute call. And then number 5 on my screen would be your actual demo call or your sales call or your strategy session or whatever you label them as, right? Number 6 on the screen is a copy of the pitch deck we put together for all of our people that are, reselling and all of our DaaS clients. Again, nothing here is branded toward Audience Lab, guys. So you can just take that link, make your own copy, and then swap out the first slide for your own branding, imaging, business name, et cetera, et cetera. Number 7 on my screen, guys, is the tutorial of me going over pixel pricing in a little more depth and running through the pixel calculator. There's a tool within the description of that video, guys, that if you are speaking with a client and the pixel seems to be a good fit, there's usually a few things you need to know minimal right off the bat. And within that little pixel calculator document, you can add in those metrics and kind of forecast the cash we're leaving on the table. For instance, the 3 main ones when it comes to the pixel is knowing the average, hits per month to the website, the average order value of the purchase price or whatever they're selling, and then the average conversion rate based off of web visitors, right? So I get 10,000 hits and I get a 5% conversion rate. We know they have approximately 9,500 bounce visitors, or that's the amount of anonymous traffic on their website that we likely retarget. We can enter in those numbers, and again, that tutorial goes through it. And then lastly, here on my screen for now is about 20 of my calls. Again, I've closed over 10 million in high ticket deals on Zoom in the last 5 years. I built a lot of sales teams, trained and placed a lot of reps. I still manage and oversee our Audience Lab sales team. So just some of my call recordings that you guys asked for. And I got some great feedback. A couple of people that went through those told me, hey, Ray, after watching one of your calls, I implemented just a little bit of that verbiage and a little more of your tonality. And I was able to close a deal right off the bat, feel a lot more confident about it. And a lot of people just not only will you see like the word tracks and the terminology and the verbiage I'm using, but I think also as important, at least for me and my sales style and what's led to my success, is more the relational style. You guys can tell every conversation is not scripted. They're all custom, and my questions aren't, again, scripted. Although number 4 and 5 on my screen will give you the frameworks, that doesn't mean those things aren't somewhat interchangeable at certain times. Just because your script, your framework says to ask this question next, you always want to ask your question based off what the prospect just finished telling you. You don't want to hear them tell you, well, Ray, I'm getting 5,000 hits on my website, and the next thing on your screen is to ask if they're doing ad spend, right? That's taking it in a totally different avenue. Just I need to get to that question. You still need to be able to use, common sense and put things together. And that's kind of, what you'll be able to see within my calls is, how I build a bit of a relationship, how it's more of a back and forth conversation and not necessarily a sales call where I'm guiding them down a path. Of course, I will at the right time. You guys will see. But again, that's just some of the things I wanted to share with you guys. So really quickly here, I'm going to go drop the link to this right there in the Zoom chat so everybody can have that. And then I'm going to go through a couple other things real quick before I kick it back to you guys for a bit of a Q&A. See what you guys are struggling with, what kind of things you guys would like me to cover, et cetera, et cetera. Let me just go back into a couple things so really quickly. So number one, something I've shared with you guys pretty regularly. I don't know if I do it weekly, but definitely pretty regularly. I like to share, the results of what we're seeing internally. And, in addition to, getting with you guys, hearing some of your sales wins, your results. We're seeing some good ones posted in the wins channel. We're getting DM them all the time, but showing you some of the things that we do consistently and that we kind of strive for. And, that we're drinking our own Kool-Aid, right? So number one, I always talk about, and again, if you're new, I'll cover this real quick, but Audience Lab, the companies that I'm a part of, I'm a co-owner and owner in a couple other companies, the Sales Lab, PDocs, our initial brand. And within all of those, we use 4 avenues of client acquisition, guys. We use paid ads, and again, I'm not always using those in every business at all times, but at least they're always running in one way, shape, or form in some capacity within my businesses. Audience Lab, I don't think there's a day we're not running them unless there's just a really wonky, rescheduling campaigns, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, paid advertising, cold email. We use mutually beneficial partnerships, MBPs, which I've done a few sessions. You guys know I have tutorials, and we talk about those sometimes in our one-on-one calls with you guys. And then the last one would be our organic outreach. Now, I do appointment setting. I got my start with DM setting and organic outreach, and I run a team of organic appointment setters. So we get some organic. And again, you see so what's on my screen here back in terms of our results. So this is our ad spend from, obviously today's the 13th. So this is the last report I have from May 12th. We booked 11 from ads yesterday. We booked 5 from our nurture sequence, which is mostly done via email and reactivation and people that watch replays of workshops and book back in. But they're all done through email or through drip sequences, generally speaking, that are having people watch content and then they'll book off of that. So again, you'll see when it shows the metrics here. I think it's always important as business owners to be tracking the metrics. You'll see that it says we spent that much on yesterday alone, which came out to our appointment cost at 126. But see, this is what helps trim that number down, because it's really only generating the appointment cost based off the ads book. Booked straight off ads, right? So if you take 11 divided by 1,384, that's where you get that 126 per appointment, right? So we actually booked in 16 that day, which if you think about it, would drop your cost per appointment to under $100. But, our calculations don't do it that way for a reason, but anything we book in addition to our paid ads offsets our acquisition or our appointment costs and things like that. So, those are things you should always be looking at in your businesses. Number one, I would never want to be reliant on only one acquisition channel. That's always just setting up your business for disaster if something, goes, especially if it's only ads and that's the only thing you're relying on. Now, I don't disagree with it being your primary, most reliant or most predictable, consistent acquisition method. But if it's your sole one, either, us personally or our clients, we've all heard nightmare stories of your ad account going down, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see here again, very transparent, just showing you what we're doing on an average basis. Normally we should be up closer, and our KPIs to be closer to the 22 calls booked per day, but we actually have ads a little down right now. I think we're normally between 15 and 16 to 1,700 a day. I know we're dropping some new creative. We'll vary our ad spend, but we don't fluctuate it more than a couple $100. It could be anywhere from probably 11 to 1900 a day, and I think our sweet spot is somewhere between about 1550 and 1750 a day when we have new ads launched, when everything's running well, when our appointment cost is where we want it to be. But anything we do at scale, we see different metrics. It's going to be a little different than when we're spending $200 a day on campaigns. So it's just good to always be transparent and tracking that. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you guys. In addition, just showing you our internal sales team again. So in full transparency, and this is only an internal document. I wouldn't share this normally on anything outside of like private clients. I'm just very, unfiltered and don't mind sharing things. But just showing you like our metrics that we see pretty consistently. So you'll see March, column H on my screen is March new CC, new cash collected, meaning that was just a new sale from an ad or a new acquisition, no existing client or existing, monthly recurring revenue on the platform. So in March, we did about 86,000 and change in new cash collected. About 69.9 was booked in new MRR, which means it was already on the books in April, ready to be billed, right? And then we can see the churn rate, which we're always, very transparent about showing you. So you can see on a monthly basis, and even go back to February, our churn rate was about 15,000. March was 17. We see April's around 12. So I'm going to take an average where we're about 15,000 in churn per month. Knowing that and knowing we're driving in about 86,000, we look at April's numbers, column K, April cash collected. About 85,000 is about our average with about a 15,000 churn. So that means on average, we're adding about 70,000 in new MRR to the platform every month, in addition to what we're already billing. So again, there's April's numbers, right? New cash collected, 85K. New MRR, meaning it's already billed on the platform for March's billing period, about 74,000 if you round up, only a couple $100 short. Whatever. So that's what we're seeing internally pretty consistently. We're seeing pretty consistent 85K and 70,000 in MR, 85 cash collected, 70,000 MR months. And then even there's my breakdown, per rep, if you guys really want to look at the specifics. Our reps, you can see top producers and have a lot of consistency there out of our sales team. So those were some of the other things I wanted to go over. I'm going to cover one or two more things. If you guys have any questions or anything you want me to cover, just start typing it in the chat, or just type a 1 if you want me to call on you. Just type the number 1 in the chat, and in a minute I will call on you for a question or anything you want me to cover. But I'm going to go through one more thing, and then I'll dive back into the chat comments and get to some questions. So let me just bring up, one thing I really find relevant, and I wanted to show you guys really quick, and this is just a very, very basic document and example, but why I thought it was relevant and where this stems from really, really quickly. Oh, hold on, toolbar, get out of my way. There we go. Where this stems from, just so you guys know, another company I'm a co-owner of and I still run, and I'm pretty hands-on, and I have programs and offer in private clients. It's called PDocs. Any of you guys not familiar? PDocs was the foundational company that Jesse, Adam, and myself all grew into 7 figures before we kind of morphed into Audience Lab as our primary business and our primary, earning company. But PDocs is still being run. PDocs really quickly stands for pains, desires, obstacles, common beliefs, and steroids, otherwise known as attention grabbers in the marketplace. And it's an overall communication, outreach, messaging, and client acquisition system that we've had over 3,000 clients and students come through. So now when I work with students, and what you're seeing here is just a private one-on-one kickoff call I do with people that only join my flagship program. So not somebody that bought my 97 or my $200 course or whatever, but somebody that's either paying me a high ticket price or on a monthly membership premium to keep working with me. So the thing I do with each one of them, and is very similar to Audience Lab, any type of agency or any client I work with, is the main criteria. So this is what I want all of you guys to just have a quick understanding. You guys should all know this, but I know when I've asked you guys this in the past, hey, what niche or industry do you serve? Hey, what's your offer? Hey, what's your ideal client? A lot of times I get very fragmented or very extensive answers, which isn't always a bad thing, but less is more a lot, especially in messaging and marketing. And the more concise and the more brevity we can use in how we get things across is really, really relevant. So one thing I've noticed below name on this particular document, everything here, these 6 components are really what every client and every business that I've ever launched and had success with needs to identify right off the bat. And then where do we go from there? So I just want to run through a quick example, and I would love you guys to just think about this for yourself. If you want really quickly, I mean, this isn't anything major, it's super basic. I'll drop it in the chat right here. You guys can bring it up and have it on your own screen. Fill out a little example right now, maybe with me, but it's going to be valuable. As basic as this looks, bear with me for 2 minutes while we go through this. Let me just put this back in the chat real quick so anybody can bring it up with me. There we go. And I'm going to go through and do an example again, right now, me for Audience Lab. So let's just say the name of me. You can either go by the company name that you're representing, or maybe I'm just working. Oh, I don't know. I didn't mean to leave it bold, but who cares? This is just a freaking example. Audience Lab, or maybe I would put my client's name or my name in this case. Ray Langdon, whatever you're going to put there, your client's name, their business name. Now, what niche or industry, and this means for this purposes, what niche or industry am I in? Is Audience Labs. So we're basically in the IT, or tech slash data slash IT. I mean, again, don't overthink any of these things. What niche or industry are you in with your expertise? You guys might not all be the same. If you're not only a data company, yours isn't going to be necessarily the same there, but this is really, really relevant. Oh, hold on. Notification. Got it. Okay. Offer. So our offer is we offer in-market intent-based first-party data. That's it. You don't even have to overthink it. That's the offer right now. That's not necessarily the offer in full. I might go a little deeper, but the deeper is going to go into these next few things, right? Because we would talk about who we work with and things like that. So for us, and again, I'll go through this through audience. Our ideal client, we are looking to work with, I would say, agencies. And I always break down my ideal client into 3 components. I've talked about this in the past, and I've been through a lot of coaching programs. I've run them, I've helped write them, I consult on other people's coaching programs and courses. I've seen a lot of bullshit with like ideal clients. Like I've been told, I remember when I started, like tell me your ideal client's favorite food and his favorite TV show and all this bullshit that never led into my marketing or my messaging. But what's always be relevant is number one, to define the who really quickly. So agencies, brands, and advertisers primarily is who Audience Lab works with. That's number one. Number two, the second component of this would be I would set some prerequisites. So we are working with agencies, brands, and advertisers spending over 5K in monthly ad spend, right? So now I would put some prerequisites for my ideal client. Again, guys, those prerequisites could be a number of things. I'm working with more established companies with over X amount of employees. I'm working with companies with over X amount of years in business, with over X amount in annual revenue, with over, again, you could go on and on, with over X amount of ad spend. But you want to set some prerequisites for your ideal clients. And again, for all of our DaaS clients, I know a lot of people get stuck and like, what do I focus on next? Or I'm not sure exactly what to do. Also, that kind of dives into like really identifying your niche a little more specifically in some cases. And not everybody has really done that. And when you do that, again, it's like identifying the sophistication level. I want to work with brands that aren't going to know how to do the reactivation, that are going to be very low sophistication level marketers. And am I going to do a full stack marketing agency or maybe outsource some of that stuff and still fulfill it? Or I'm just going to be a hands-off data agency where I just sell it, consult, and they run all the marketing, because you're going to have different prerequisites depending on the sophistication level or how established, the client base you're looking for. So again, Audience Lab, we're looking for people spending over 5K a month minimum. I think even ideally is 10, but we'd say spending over 5K monthly ad spend. Generally speaking, our ideal clients, especially in the agency capacity, are somewhere between 20 to 50K in monthly revenue and looking to scale with data, tech, AI, like just those type of kind of, cutting edge areas. So 20 to 50K a month in revenue. And again, I'm not going to type it out all to scale. I'm talking about it as I'm typing, but 20 to 50K monthly revenue, looking to scale with AI, tech, data, etc. Right? And lastly, again, I could probably even go a little further. I want to make sure, yeah, I mean, those two are really good start though, just for this exercise. I don't want to spend like forever on this particular document, but it's super relevant. And then the last thing I always enter. So the who very clearly, agency, brand, and advertisers, some prerequisites, spending a minimum 5K on ad spend. Ideally, they're doing between 20 and 50K a month and looking to scale with data, tech, AI. I would probably take it a step further and say, want to deliver better results for their clients and or the brands and advertisers themselves want to be able to lower cost per lead and cost per acquisition. So those are some things I would add if I was like sitting here typing it all out in, just if I was really going in depth with it. And then the third thing I look for is what might they try or what have they already tried instead of working with myself. So I know with some of my clients, some of the agencies, some of the brands and advertisers that have come onto my platform and that work here, they may have tried other data providers. They may have tried other ad agencies. They may have tried hiring a media buyer and internal, tried hiring an advertising department and getting their costs down or taking it in house. They could have tried quite a few things. They could try scraping data, which is totally different than generating in-market custom lists or intent-based in-market lists based around the parameters that we're able to identify on our platform, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the three prerequisites, guys. I'm all building out in every offer at minimum. Can we add more to this? Always. But again, a lot of times less is more, especially if we're overcomplicating things, we're stuck, or we just want to get these basic pieces of criteria on paper. What I do next here for the research, and again, I would do this subject to my clients. Right now, we have done quite a bit of research. There's no research required on my end internally. But when I do this with a client, I'm like, hey, you need to go do some more research on your offer based on what they told me above on what they offer. Maybe they need to do some research on other competition. Maybe they need to do some more research on the copy and the creative that's working in their industry. So I'm going to give them some homework. And again, for you guys, for just sake of this and keeping it basic, this is where I would identify what they need to go research and homework. Then when I sit with them, I'm like, what is your immediate objective? So I actually did this with a client earlier this week by the name of JP. And this was a relatively new offer. And I was like, hey, JP, what's your immediate objective with us working together? Meaning, in the next 60 or 90 days, what do you want to see happen from this? And with this particular case, guys, we're taking an offer from scratch, from his brain and from on paper, and putting it to an actual offer, then taking it to market, then validating it, then scaling. But anyway, that was his exact thing. He's like, number one, I want to get my offer launched and completed and launched. Number two, I want to validate it, which means we don't just launch it, we actually get people to pull out their credit card and sign up. Then I want to get into a bit of growth and scale mode and do a little bit of optimizing, which is obviously going to be done as you launch, complete, and validate a new offer and market. And then I want to get to consistent 50K months. I want 10 clients at 5K per month. So that was his immediate objective in this case. Mine being Audience Lab and what I'm talking about would be quite a bit different. But our immediate objective is to continue to partner with ideal agencies, forge more mutually beneficial partnerships, which these are all things my team is working on, launch new social media department. So these are just three things that are primarily immediate objectives for me right now. Again, most of the clients I work with, and I really don't expect any of your guys to be exactly the same. But again, I'm filling this out as if it was me doing this. And then the strategy and approach. So much more relevant to like JP or any other client where most of this is around a new offer, generating revenue, client acquisition. The strategy and approach I would lay out would be custom and different for everybody specifically. But for JP and what I told him is based on his past expertise, his individual network, his weaknesses and strengths. For instance, this particular guy wasn't fond of posting on social media, didn't want to be very forward facing, wasn't very outgoing and is more, recluse, internal. What's the other word I'm looking? Introvert, right? And there's a lot of people like that. A lot of entrepreneurs, run a business from their home because they're not very outgoing, they're not very social, right? And I get it. So, I got to show people ways on what I would do in their situation based upon, again, what they have for tools and foundations and what they have for skills and limitations. Because when I work with somebody, my goal isn't to overcome their limitations on the first call. My goal is to build a strategy approach that fits within their strengths and limitations. And then, of course, we always want to, challenge ourselves, I think, internally to get better and overcome those things, which I do in the long term with a lot of people. But in JP's case, basically, the strategy and approach was number one, go through the homework resources and get the offer dialed in. We have 7 to 14 days to accomplish this and get this done. And I gave him everything he needed to do it. Plus, we have more sessions together. So that's going to be a no-brainer. Number two, take it to market and validate it. And how are we going to do that? We're going to use the 3-pronged marketing outreach approach, strictly organic. He didn't have ad spend. And again, he doesn't have a lot of social media presence, and he's not really fond of doing that, and that's not right now. So what we're going to do is go after his warm network, past clients and past people he's helped. He's got an IT background. It fit very well. He's going to start crafting cold email based around his ideal client that we locked in and targeted, on that specific session. And then he's also going to start doing some LinkedIn outreach. He's going to have a very specific strategy approach as to who he connects to, and then very crafted outreach message and getting them to just drop an email or say, yes, I'm interested, or a very, very basic approach. So again, in that case, it was, again, this is the only one I'm going to do different because this one's not going to be relevant. If I was to say my strategy and approach there, which I could do, it's no big deal, but that's not relevant to anybody. But let's go through like what I just talked about. And if we're crafting maybe a new offer, or even if we've just crafted a new offer, right? Let's just say we've already crafted it. In most of our cases, we have one, especially if you have Audience Lab. But let's say, number one, we want to validate our offer, meaning get at least our first or a couple of sales in. We want to then build out consistent outreach approach. So in this case, what I had told you was a 3-pronged outreach approach. Again, this would probably be different for every single person on here in some way, shape, or form by their foundations and what they already have access to, by their strengths, their skills, their limitations, all that stuff I mentioned. And that 3-pronged approach here would be one, JP had a decent warm network and he was comfortable talking with people he already knows, made a lot of sense. And I think a lot of us overlook. Maybe you have, a friend, family member, whatever, that's a business owner. You have colleagues, you have people that are probably spending money on ads, marketing. That why can't we just reach out to them and say, hey, I have this cool new thing. We've been buddies for a long time. I thought of you before I take it to everybody else. I want to try this out. I have a special thing going on. Boom, boom, boom. But JP's again was warm network, cold email, and then LinkedIn strategic approach. I'll just say LinkedIn outreach approach. And really a real quick overview. So guys, all of us should be able to do this really, really quick and easy. And if you don't think you can, you probably want to sit down and just simplify it and sit down. And again, I'm not demeaning anybody if it's not simple and easy, but at least what I just went through, it makes sense. And the concept is simple as easy. Does that mean we all have it 100% figured out? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm expecting. But if you don't, it should be a thought exercise here, right? That gets you going on how can I just streamline and make sure I have, all this stuff down and simple. And again, I like to go through this because sometimes no matter where we're at in our business, just starting out or very established and doing 5-6 figures a month consistently, right? It's like sometimes it's really good to look back at the foundations and something we overlooked. Or every once in a while, I just go back and relook at my offer pillars anyway because things change. For instance, our whole platform's upgrading to V3. There's going to be different deliverables. Like we've already changed certain resources. Like things are always malleable and adapting, right? But like sometimes it's just going back to the core and make sure we're very, very clear about who we are, who we're serving, who our ideal client is, what our offer is, and what our kind of immediate objective is. And then create your actions and behaviors and activities that day to align with your immediate objective. So for me, looking at things, did I do things like this today? Number one, actually, I did do an MVP call. Number two, I launched 13 new pieces of social media content to our social media department that's already been published. So I would say, yes, I actually am putting actions and behaviors and daily activities behind my immediate objective. And in this case, if the immediate objective was to get new clients and the strategy and approach, what would I be doing? I'd be reaching out to my warm network, doing messaging like I just talked about. Hey, we've known each other for a while. I have this new technology that's really cool, and I think it would benefit you like this. Willing to at least give it a try? Right? Just doing that. I would be crafting some great cold email copy, and different variations of subject lines. I would spend a lot of my time really dialing in my LinkedIn Boolean. What type of person am I looking for? What job titles, what niches and industries? And make sure you narrow it down to your ideal client so you're not speaking to people that can probably never utilize your product, your service, etc. So again, I think sometimes it's really nice to just simplify and bring things back down to the core in the beginning. And it really sometimes hones in bigger picture things. Cool. So really quickly, let me go check the comments here in the chat and see if we have anything there. If we have the docs customized, do we forward them to you for review and recommendations? So are you talking about like the scripts, Robert? You can unmute for a minute. Robert Become, if I pronounce that right. You're on mute. I can't hear you. I'm not a good lip reader.
I was just reading a comment about the Bultaco Maniac. Yes, Jason, that's me.
So when you asked about if we have the docs customized, do we forward them to you? Do you like the scripts?
Yeah, the ones that were in your list of things that to get started. I did those a long time ago. I never did anything follow up with you, and I'm sure things have changed by now. I can change the topic, whatever. And as you know, we're doing, Phil's doing some stuff for me and all that stuff. So, I'm still like on a sailboat with no rudder. I feel like, I don't really. I mean, I got that doc, I got the thing, and I'm like, okay, I want to do ads so that I can go to my clients. Like you're saying, I want to go to my clients and say, this is what worked for me. This is what I ran, $1,500 a month ad spend, and this is my results. You could probably do the same thing in your niche. I'm just guessing, but this is what worked for me. This is how I got here.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's pretty much all laid out in that document, in that sales process. So what you've already been doing along those lines, and that's a great question. You haven't started the ads yet, and I know you want to, and you just got with Phil, and I think you're working with him on that.
Yeah, he was working on some stuff, and hopefully he's doing that.
Yeah. I mean, until those get started, you can't. What I would be doing at minimum in the meantime, and what you have been doing, you've been sending me some stuff. You've created your own little video sales letter presentation on what this is for. You've created a landing page. Like you're building out all the resources so you can run the ads and then send them through the automated funnel. Go back through the number 2 on that. Watch that tutorial one more time of going through the sales process, and you're going to see where those things you've created in the last week or 2 fit into there, Robert. And then for you right now, again, you want to start running ads and you're going too soon, great. But in the meantime, you can be doing what I just talked about, with that guy, JP. Reach out to anybody you know, colleagues, friends, family, right? People you can talk to. Reach out to your ideal clients and just start conversations. Hey, I have this cool new tool. I think it would help you with X, whatever that is, more clients, lower cost. Are you willing to try it out or hear about it? And just getting conversations. And that's what I would be focusing on if I were you.
Yeah, kind of like that white label guy that we talked about.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And then he's got a friend that told me about him. So he's actually going to look at my older video, but I have a better one coming out. So it's like, we'll see what happens. But yeah.
Cool. I'll get with you some more on that. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Jason, your question. Just curious for your reasons to churn. Yeah, that's great. So as a business owner, I'm always curious for our reasons for churn as well. And we try to get as much feedback. Does everybody that leaves your platform or your product going to tell you why? No. But the main reasons for churn would be twofold. Number one is just we forgot we had it. We're not really using it. So why am I spending a monthly fee? A lot of the churn we seem to see, although you see consistent, 12, 17, 15, I think we're around 15K. But what we've noticed is about 8 to 9 of that, 8 to 9,000 or a little over 50% are people that were on the platform for 120 plus days that had either stopped using it or forgot they had it. So that's probably number one. Number two would be simply we got onto your platform, we started using it, and we're having trouble recouping our money. I haven't made any sales. I haven't made an ROI. And people give it X amount of time before they pull the plug on that. So I would say, some people that don't get an ROI within a certain time frame, or people that either stopped using it or kind of forgot they had it and are just cutting expenses would be the most common that we can find from the feedback and the members that give us the feedback. Great question, though.
Thanks, Raymond. Hey, actually, while I have you here, if everyone doesn't mind, can I just ask a follow-up question to that?
You may.
Okay, so I came to Audience Lab in February of this year and had built out an AI agency. And so we were adding this to our offer stack because it just makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
I'll make this faster, sorry.
No, you're good.
So partnered up with a couple of people because in my mind, it's the right person, right chair. And I feel like running one of these agencies, you can't do everything by yourself. So my background is like yours, Raymond. I ran and managed sales teams for many years. I come from the sales side, go-to-market strategy. That is definitely my area of expertise. I'm just wondering, Raymond, is there anybody in the community that you know that leans more towards the data and the media buying side who is looking to partner up with somebody? Because what I'm finding here is there's three parts to this, right? There's the data and the sync and the media buying. There's client success, and then there's sales and marketing. And if you do everything yourself, you build a team of VAs, and then you're basically building a job, and you want to fucking kill yourself after months.
Or can't get that way.
You get strategic and get everybody in the right chair, and let's build for scale, and let's replace ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of roles and responsibilities, so we're freed up to do better, larger, broader, more strategic moves and go up market. So that's been my approach. Unfortunately, I've met with a couple of different people who just absolutely under-delivered massively on both their understanding of the data as well as their ability and their drive and their commitment. So for me, I'm just wondering, like, I know there's people in this community who are great with data who would rather talk to a living soul. I know there are people myself who love sales, but who would rather hug a toaster and jump in the shower than look at a fucking taxonomy, right? So for me, I'm kind of trying to figure this out because I have lost so much business. Like, I have 18 clients who were waiting. I had 2 massive funders that wanted to work with me. I got a couple of roofers, and I just can't find the folks that really know how to run an ad and run sync data and a few other things. And like, can it really be that hard? So Raymond, maybe offline, can you and I have a chat? And maybe
I can give you a quick answer right now. If we want to go more offline, we can do that as well. But I can give you a pretty basic answer right now that I think will help 100%. And what I would be doing if I were you with that question, I think it's a really good question. I think you really laid that out. I like that you went a bit more in depth because it's some actually very good overall business viewpoints there, as well as in addition to your question here. And I'm glad you laid the grounds for context and how you look at it all. And you're right. Those are kind of the two ways. You create a job for yourself that you start to hate and resent and you burn out, or you put the right people in the right seats. I've gone through and done it both ways. And with Audience Lab, luckily, we're doing the latter. And I hear what you're saying. And I would probably be looking at it the same way. And you're 100% right, Jason. There are people in this community that would love to never talk to a soul, that really hate sales, that only do it because they have to, and they're very not comfortable and they're not getting results, but they're great sitting behind their computer pulling data and running campaigns.
Great. Send my way, Raymond. I want to talk to those people.
Well,
send them to me.
What I was going to say is I'll have to go through and talk to some people and just check my notes. I don't remember right off the top of my head this moment. But the 2 things I would say is, number one, I don't know if you've already done this. I would go create a post in school asking for this and asking people if you're like that. And really, just like you just said it here, I think would be great. Number 2, Phil on our team who runs some of the incubator Q&A and the DaaS Q&A workshops?
I've tried to meet with Phil a couple of times. I understand he's now white labeling, right? My issue here is that what that happens when you white label is I'm not going to be able to reverse engineer all those white label pieces with the amount of margin that I'm collecting when I'm running ads. So my problem is I'll always be beholden to the white label.
Gotcha.
Because you see what I'm saying? So what's going to happen is, look, Phil needs to make money, right? Phil needs to make money, right? Absolutely he does. And so, he's going to serve me and help me out to a certain point. But then when I factor in cost of goods and marketing spend, my margin is going to be pretty slim, and I won't be able to hire and reverse engineer all those pieces.
Yeah, and you may very well be right. I was just putting it out there because based off what he told me and what I've seen running the numbers of how he's helping people, what I've seen from some of the clients themselves, most of them, even after his cost of goods and the fees, are operating at about 60% margins on the services that he's covering. So for me, as a business owner, if I can operate off 60% margins and not have to do the fulfillment, that's a win for me. So yeah, I don't know how much you looked into it, but for me, that's a win.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that 60% is not bad, actually. Maybe I will talk to Phil.
Yeah, I mean, you should, because I was talking to him just recently about this. He showed me multiple examples, and then I saw what he was charging. I'm like, dude, I could build a DaaS agency and outsource that and easily have 60% margins. Like, the math made sense to me 100%. And then he showed me some examples. So again, I don't do everything he does. I don't want to speak to that 100%, but what I've seen, I would at least have a conversation. It might be worthwhile, Jason.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. I'll do that, Raymond. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
Cool. Yeah. No problem. Joe M., you've been sitting there patiently with your hand raised. Sorry about that. Go right ahead.
No worries. Hey, Raymond. So I'm new at Audience Lab. Like I started a month ago. And I have been, so I run an agency. We have several clients from different niches, right? And we have been testing different products or services, right, with different of my clients, right? I want to see if maybe I'm doing something wrong, and in case not, how can I overcome the objections? Because the main pain point that I have is that we work with a couple of cold email agencies, and I have been basically selling them in-market data for different of their clients of different niches, right? And in 6 cases, they have come back to me saying, hey, we ran the audience, like 5,000 emails, 10,000 emails, and the data is not good at all. Like what I get from Apollo is better, right? So, and I have run the audiences, both keywords, and then I started doing only pre-mates. I haven't run yet custom, but I know that custom should be better, but still, like keywords or pre-made should be a little bit better than what they are getting from Apollo. So once that happened, honestly, I lose them, right? So now I'm a little bit hesitant to, until I figure this out, to keep offering this, at least for cold email, right? So that's the first thing. I don't know your thoughts. Maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you very well may be. That's more on the tech side, and I can set you up with the right person and walk you through that and get that fixed. But what I know 100% and what I've seen, especially with some of the upgrades on V3, like really quickly, just going to share my screen really quickly because it's right in conjunction with your question there or what you just brought up. But like, here's Brian, right, who just created a smaller. He says here the other day, he's like, just wanted to let everybody know, it's from earlier this week or whatever, last week. The deep B2B email tool is amazing. We sent out 1,552 as a test and only had 12 bounces, giving it a 0.8%, a 0.86% bounce rate. So like, I mean, that is way above what anyone else provides, and that's a crazy example. We got another one last week from Melissa, but that was a DM to Adam, so I have to bring it up on my screen. I just wanted to read the exact numbers just to see what she saw too, because it was something like amazing. So for you to say that it's performing at a very low number, or not even close to Apollo, we just ran split test 48 hours ago. And our email verification off this new deep, again, might not be using all the new features or might not be using them properly. I'll walk through that in a second. But let me just see one thing real quick and see what her results were. Because to me, it's fascinating some of the crazy accuracy and some of the crazy verification percentages that we've been seeing off of V3 for the people that do have it and are using it properly. Here it is, right? Give me 1 second. So Melissa went on to say, my email campaign, the data is so accurate. This was crazy. Out of 50,000 emails sent, only 3 bounced back. I mean, that's freaking insane. I don't even know how realistic that is, but it came right from her mouth, and she's on our platform, and she's on these workshops occasionally. So again,
yeah, I guess that's one portion of it, right? Which is the quality of the email deliverability, right? But I guess I was basically, or the feedback that I have gotten, right, is more on the intent. Essentially, okay, I run this audience through Apollo. They use verification tools, so they're running these to only valid emails, right? And for example, their response rate on Apollo is 2%, right? And with our data, the expectation was, okay, this should be higher than 2% because they will be in market for specifically what I'm offering, right? And they're not getting that improvement. That's kind of where I am.
And do you know, just out of curiosity in this case, Joe, on how long is it they've been trying it and how many emails have they sent out and tested this with, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, it's anything between 3,000 and 10,000 and over a period of 10 weeks.
Okay. And as Jason actually said right below Brad's comment there on the screen, said the intent data is really only to be used for like lookalike targeting and not actual custom prospecting lists. That is accurate and correct in how it works. What I want to do with you, Joe, really quickly, do you have the no, that's all right. So you have to take this out of my offer stack. Yeah. That's a good point. Joe, do you know can you type me in the chat really quickly the email address that you enrolled with or you signed up with? Or do you know what tier package you're in? Did you get an incubator package, a DaaS package?
I think that is DaaS package. So there's my email.
I'll research it for you real quick, and I'm going to message you right after this session's done. I'm going to send you a DM. You're in school, right?
Yeah, I am.
What's the last name you're under? I'm sorry, just because it just says M here.
Last name Mendiburo. So Mendyburo.
URO.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. I will send you a DM with how to connect either today or tomorrow within the next 24 hours, one-on-one with my tech guy who can just walk you through all that stuff, just to
That's
make sure
right.
it's all getting done right.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank
I
you.
just don't have the resources right in front of me right now. Let me go through it after the call and I'll send it over to you, Joe.
Appreciate it.
Jason, I had a question for you real quick. I had you muted, Raymond, so hopefully this is for a second. Hopefully this isn't a repeat, but
No, you're good.
Jason, like you just said, I found out the intent data is really only to be used for lookalike targeting and not actual custom prospecting lists. Could you guys help me understand what you mean by that? Or Raymond, you're fine too, but
Actually, Jason, go ahead first and then I'll give you my thoughts. Let me know what you heard.
So by the way, guys, I am like, as I've shared, I'm no data expert. So, but what I thought I purchased with Audience Lab was this idea that, intent data is basically tracking, a number of, internet behaviors that indicate obviously intent, right? And that you could literally get a download of that data daily. And my first thought was I would pass that on to an SDR team or a sales team, and they could make calls to those folks and not using AI, not texting, not doing anything that could get you sued or piss someone off who's in the do not contact list. Literally have an SDR call and just introduce themselves in the company and present an offer. The idea here being that intent data can help with lookalike sync, right? For better ads targeting, but also if you're, let's say you're a roofer and you're in the Midwest and I give you a custom list of 10 people who have searched any kind of keyword term related to roofing, that could be pretty powerful for prospecting, especially if you have SEO or if you're running Google ads, right? And I've made that one of the things that I think is a deliverable but I'm going to take it out because what I've learned is people have been calling those folks and it's been like very non-responsive. It's not really working. And it starts to chip away at the credibility of your data. Where it does work is in bulk to help close the gap between Facebook's native targeting and what you're able to do with their data. Now, what's unclear to me still is if you have a pixel installed and you're tracking the data from people who are landing on your website and you're getting that anonymous information back, is that data still being used for custom prospecting lists for sales teams? Because I heard in the version 3 that's coming out that basically you can heat map and you can distinguish not only who's been on your website, how far deep into the funnel they went, and then you could lead score that and you could say, well, look, if they've gone this far down my funnel, that to me indicates intent. So I'm going to call those people. But honestly, guys, because I've been sort of building out some other things, I haven't really confirmed any of that. So I'll shut up. I hope that answered the question.
That's right. You're pretty right on most of that. I mean, what I would say, and maybe the impression that some people get wrong, is number one, we shouldn't be looking at the data as a number one cold calling, cold outreach type of tool. Can it work in certain instances, in certain industries, in cold outreach and just cold calling? Yes, but also cold calling has the most compliance restrictions with DNC stuff, and people. The cold calling is a little more of a nuanced art to get it very, very good and to get it to work, right? Regardless of how good the data is, you have to have a very good script, a very good why are you reaching out to me if it's out of the blue. There's a lot of factors. So generally speaking, if we operate off of this format, the data is meant to perform in advertising campaigns, and that's where it's always going to perform best. We can get it in front of more people, we can get higher intent audiences, and we can obviously, blow it up and put more money behind it. We all have a certain limit of how many emails we send and how many will be open, or how many DMs we can send, or how many cold calls we can make. There's a certain number in a day, but with ads, the more you spend and the more audience you're open to, you can get it in front of more and more people. More importantly,
Raymond, to your point though, to the point you just demonstrated by how you lengthened your funnel by retargeting using, content to sort of get people retargeted back into a sales appointment. Like literally, I can now have my cost of acquisition. Let's say you reduce the cost of acquisition by 40% because we're using your data. If I know how to have an SDR team scripted and making the right calls, I can get another 10 appointments out of that ad spend. Then all of a sudden, those people are never leaving me because no other agency is going to get you even close. So like, look, man, I'm going to figure it out because I don't want to use ringless voicemails because I think that doesn't work. But from what I understand, if you call from a cell phone and you call someone's business, even if they're on the do not call registry, they can't complain because you're calling a business. And if we do the B2C to B match, then you can literally hand that over to a sales team. And in between sales calls, they can call people and try to book appointments.
And you're right. And I'm not saying you were spot on right, and it can work. It's just a bit more nuanced, and you got to kind of figure out it's not as simple as just embedding the data into ad campaigns and people raising their hands saying, yes, I'd like more information or booking a call. It's a different process. What I've seen over and over again through over years of testing our users on the platform where they get the best ROI for the data, whether it's themselves or their clients, I would say in most cases, it's their clients because the majority of my DaaS clients are using data more for the clients than themselves. Do we have some that use it for themselves or their own brands? Hell yeah. But the way they see the best ROI, again, over and over again, is in ad spend, second with cold email, third with SMS, and fourth with actual cold calling. And that's just overall. There are certain niches and industries where cold calling will work and make sense, or certain data. But you are right, Jason, about some of the capabilities of the V3 Pixel. I don't want to get too into that because it hasn't fully launched yet, and there's still some stuff on the back end. If anybody's having Pixel issues or questions about the V3 Pixel, it isn't launched yet and it isn't active. It's only still in test beta phase. If anybody's using Pixel, you should still be using the V2 Pixel in the meantime. Just if anybody's having any questions, it should be very, very soon. But we all know with technology and all the stuff that goes into this working. But you're right, there is more signals and more tracking within the V3 Pixel, Jason, so you can track how far they went on the website and how long they stayed on the page and things like that. Which will be better for, the reactivation campaign. So there's going to be it's beefed up and certain additional capabilities that are certainly helpful, yes.
So let me ask you guys this then. Our plan, and I don't know how deep we got into our offer, Raymond, on the call, but our plan with this data has never been about ads. We've been sold on the high intent of the data itself. And what we're doing in our offer is we're approaching a certain niche that's a newer AI automation agency wanting to sell these services to legacy businesses. And we are just giving them our high intent data based on what their offer is so they can inject that data into calling campaigns, like Jason was saying, into cold email campaigns, into LinkedIn DMs. So is there any merit whatsoever to the intent on that side?
No, there still is. There still is, especially with V3 and the lead scoring, which if you haven't already seen or hasn't already been explained, I'll make sure I get you something over there on it soon. But with V3 and the audience we're building in the lead scoring, there's basically different grades for you. So we'll build an in-market audience for, again, whatever product or service for the client you're working with, people that had, interest and intent in that, and then it will score them based on 85 to 100. That means bottom of funnel, hot, have searched these certain keywords in the last few days. That's probably what I would send to a cold calling list. Then you'll see people with a lead score between 70 and 85. That's probably more middle of funnel. Those are probably people I would blast with some email campaigns to educate, drop some case studies, some results, something to get them more toward bottom of the funnel. And then we would have people score 70 or lower, more top of funnel, which I would want to use with more story-based and introductory content to the brand. So being able to still build that list, and with the lead scoring, you can kind of segment, hey, I built a list of 10,000 for this person. The bottom 3,000 are 85 or higher. Those are people we should reach right out to with a call, right? And then these people, so it's really going to help you be able to segment it and dictate how we should do that outreach, what channel or avenue based on top, mid, or bottom of funnel scoring. Does that make sense, Nathan?
Yeah, and Jason, question for you. I think you are a little bit like a few steps ahead of us with what we're doing in a similar fashion. So our entire offer is the intent data for cold outreach, and you're saying you're needing to remove that from your offering, but that is like our entire offer.
Yeah, I get you. And by the way,
To
Nathan,
remove that, I think it's the way you had it work. Oh, go ahead, Jason. I didn't mean to talk over you. Go ahead.
no, you're fine, dude. Go. You can jump in here if you want to, Raymond. Before I answer, you can if you want.
No, I mean, I totally don't feel like you have to remove that. I just want to be, I just want to be careful about how you have it worded, maybe.
Yeah, and you know, I would jump on to say, well, first of all, Nathan, I don't know if I'm any further ahead than you guys. That's for sure. I would say this, that I made intent data one of the unique value props and unique mechanisms to the messaging. And you know that adage, selling what they want, give them what they need.
Yeah.
So, you know, in terms of messaging, I think it helps you stand out in the marketplace. What I would back out from that is how I intend to use it and what I would say to offer in a deliverable, because what I can say is intent data makes your ads perform better. And then I don't have to use it for custom prospecting lists. I will say that the intent data is, you can use it for cold email and LinkedIn, because with the B to C match, or whatever that's called, you're going to get people who, those intent leads, you can find out their email and their LinkedIn profile, and that's all you really need, right? And then you can
That's true.
So,
I actually talked about that a little with you and Kyle, I believe it was, right, Nathan, on your initial call.
Yeah.
We've had lots of clients that have success with that. Again, when I tell you how it performs best, or how we see it working best, that is true. That does not mean it doesn't apply or work, or convert in other manners, other channels, other avenues. You can get the best results and probably the most bang for your buck if you are spending money on ads. Again, still lots of ways to make money with it outside.
You guys are reaching out to the business emails, though, right? The deep verified business emails, not the personal emails, correct?
I believe in the instance I was reading on my screen with what's his name's example, the 1550, I believe that was business emails. Melissa's, I'm not sure, because I could have sworn Melissa had more of a direct to consumer offer when I last spoke with her, and plus she sent out 5,000 as opposed to the other guy, which was only 1,500. I'm not 100% sure on that.
And I'll also add, Nathan, that there are other places to find B2B data, right? You have to understand, like, Audience Lab is one of many, and like there are go-to-market B2B like Clay and what's it called, Digify, I think they're called. Anyways, there's just a whole bunch. Octave is another one. There's a whole other world around how to get cold email and LinkedIn to work for B2B prospecting. So if you're trying to look for small and medium-sized enterprise clients who are B2B service providers, where there's tons of fucking money, where the money's great, like, you can go use this, but then also, get connected to other groups, and you can build out a completely different B2B stack. This stuff works really good for B2C, I think. That's where Audience Lab shines most.
Yeah.
So, but that's my limited experience, dude. So, like,
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it work very well in certain B2B campaigns. Again, it's very nuanced, dependent on such a lot of factors to sit here and discuss right now. Like, we're not going to get it solved right this minute, but I know what you're asking.
And that's kind of the general consensus that we've come to, is that it's primarily a B2C. It started B2C, it started ads, but that there has been use cases for B2B. People have succeeded, but I haven't found too many of them. And we know we're kind of on the front end of this part of using Audience Lab, and we like that. We like that there's a team developing the product. We like that there's new features coming out, and we're like along for the ride. We're just trying to figure out what we can sell and fulfill today based on our one differentiator, which is the high intent of the data.
And Nathan, what I will say is, you definitely always have Audience Lab, because here's an advantage. So when you're in B2B marketing, one of the limiting factors is LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn ads suck. They're super expensive. Their targeting is even worse than Meta. And the reality is I have a management consulting SaaS that I'm trying to stand up, as well as this agency, and that'll be a B2B play primarily. Here's the advantage. I can get a list of B2B, and I can drop it into like B2B contacts, and I could scrape and find out as many as I want. I could drop them in an Audience Lab and get resolution, or whatever that's called, where I could get now their Facebook profiles.
The enrichment you're talking about.
Is that?
The enrichment.
Yeah, the enrichment. And so
Yeah.
I could basically put that into Facebook now, and now I can run a B2B offer to a meta ad way cheaper. And if I'm targeting the right level of seniority in the company, they're going to see that ad before they look at a LinkedIn ad. Now I've got another way to reach out to B2B, and it's like super fucking powerful, man. So like,
Yeah.
you're in the right, dude, you're in the right place, man. Like Audience Lab is awesome. And like,
yeah, and
this
that's
is why you got to have the sales and marketing piece as well as the data piece. Like anyone who's trying to do this by themselves, I think you're fucking crazy. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do
guys,
it.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Nathan, message me in school, and I'll get you some more information about how. I'll connect you with how you can use the data the way you're looking to do it, and get you some more clarity on building the intent-based lists for more cold outreach.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
And Joe, I will be sending you over those resources, guys. I got to run off. I got people in the waiting room. I got one more to do here back to back. And then Nathan, message me. I'll get you set up with that. And Joe, I'll get that information sent over to you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Guys, I will catch
Thank
you
you.
next week. Thank you, everybody, for your participation.
Thank you.